Welcome to another Motortown post-event race commentary. This one is the big one. 2 hours of Le Jeju, which is a cooperative event between two Motortown servers. I think one of them is Mr. Bug's server and the other one is obviously TWL, organized by Mr. Soleo and Chessbot. So this one is an endurance race, meant to be 2 hours long. Funnily enough, the official logo for the event actually had 24 hours, like for Le Mans, and then just crossed out the 4, so we are still left with 2. It turns out to be a bit shorter for the faster cars. I ended up with around 1 hour 43 minutes, and I mean, we are going to try and cut this down a little bit. I'm watching this on YouTube because, first of all, chapters are going to make this a lot easier to skip ahead. But also, I think if I try to skip through my video with Windows Media Player, it would just crash quite a few times. Anyway, let's get going, let's get started. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, and it's gonna be a long one anyway, so let's not delay it unnecessarily. So, car restrictions for this one don't exist. Anything that's available in the vanilla game is fair game to be used here. I had quite a few car options myself that I lay out, but in the end I went with my trusty old Fortum with a V8 and 240 horsepower base power there plus turbocharger, of course. A lot of people went with the Enfo for understandable reasons. I mean, all-wheel drive is always a bit more stable than rear-wheel drive, and that thing just has massive acceleration and a fuel tank twice the size of mine, 100 liter compared to my 50. So it's a bit stacked towards the Enfo, but I didn't like it when I tried it out on the track. I also don't know what happened to the person in the Neo there, but yeah, everybody else is off and going, and we are going to see how it works out. So the first step, I'll let it play out in full and then just talk a bit about the track and also what's happening on screen here, because the first step is always very busy. Right now I'm in 10th or 11th place, and honestly, for the most part, I'm just going to be trying to do my thing. I don't care to battle people here, I'm just trying to have a race and execute my pit stop strategy. I'll talk more about that in a bit. But yeah, we are coming around to the harbor. If you didn't notice it, there wasn't really a checkpoint forcing us onto that road. We could have also taken the other one and gone a bit wider. But usually everybody takes the right path and therefore the shorter line. We also just got overtaken by Raging in the Retten, something that I really didn't have on my radar for this event. And coming around the harbor and potentially repair area. Not really necessary right now, but always good to keep your options in mind. Also, there's a gas station to the right. We will be making use of that in a moment, or at least in a few minutes here once we come back around. There is a pit strategy with this entire thing, but I think, yeah, it's better to talk about it later. I'm basically doing 2 laps and I have a particular target for where I want to go. When it comes to the track overall, it's less of a Le Mans version in-game for me, at least not in terms of how the entire thing is paced, and more of Nürburgring plus Nordschleife. At least if you replace the Nürburgring part of that track combination with something like Yas Marina, because we have a few very tight sections with very sharp corners, and then also these open, more rural areas that we can go through and have a bit more speed through, but also some tricky corner combinations in. But yeah, the city part here definitely is something to be a bit more careful about, and this was also where I really didn't fear the Enfo, because that thing is just giving you so much acceleration that you're just constantly doing basically stop and go between one sharp turn and the next one. I wanted something that felt a bit more paced in a way. In the end, this is meant to be a 2 hour race with, I think, 12 laps around this track. And my first priority for this one was to participate with something that I would enjoy for that time on this track. The info just wasn't that. It could have been maybe a bit faster than what I ended up choosing, but I wanted to have like a comfort food of car in this case. Even if I sometimes mess up and sometimes even slow down other people, that's just something that happens here. And yeah, I'll be losing a few positions here. Got a position from Techie a few corners ago when he went off track, and now I almost went off track. I mean, I was a bit in the green, but nothing too crazy. And now I'm down in 10th position. And yeah, Techie and the Steelman are basically fighting for 8th now. Techie being a bit slower, so I might be able to get another place back over here. Again, it really depends on what people are prioritizing. The slower engines generally feel better in the tighter areas, but they might slow you down on the big straight over here. But it's a balancing act. They will also let you maybe drive another lap or two depending on what car you're using and what engine options you have available. This one, bit tight, bit tough. I wish some of the checkpoints got a bit more extended, but yeah, it's a bit mixed. From what I heard, there are multiple people who had their hand in the checkpoint layout just to do a bit of fine-tuning. The overall route was determined quite a while ago, but there were still things being done to improve the track layout a bit, or at least how it's being checkpointed. But yeah, we are now driving through Pyosan, another area which is a bit tighter, and also with all the barriers on the outside, I'm trying to just not get caught in them. There's an alternative line where you go to the right of these barriers and then cut back onto the track there, but it's another risky one. And you don't want to risk it for minor improvements here. It doesn't really matter all that much. We also just saw the hopper trailers on the side there. They're kind of glitched into the side barrier there, and in some laps they might be shooting those rocky wall props onto the track. It's a bit of a random one. I wish we just towed them into the ocean or something. That would have been the move there. Also a bit scary over here, this sharp turn. Trying to avoid the part of this town with the barriers in the middle, which I appreciate, but this also is another really tight and twisty part, especially if you have a car that doesn't do too well on the curbs. A few can just go over there and still survive, a few others have more problems. Also coming around the high school now. This is another area where I'm more focused on trying to not mess up. I don't really care about having the best racing line through this part. I'm just trying to not run into the outside barrier and screw up my vehicle. But yeah, here we are, past that area and now going to the industrial district, which is one of those areas that saw or I think the main area that saw a bit of a change to the actual layout. That used to be a lot more twisty, and we are going to see the current one in a moment, and I'll be explaining what it used to be like. Also, the steerman just managed to overtake somebody, so I might be able to do the same, hopefully. So in the original version of the layout through here, we actually went to a sharp right here and through the toy factory. Added a few more corners, particularly tight ones, and I think the flow is much better now that that section got removed. Also a good place to maybe repair and refuel if we need to. But they are coming back through here. The original version also went to the left here and went through the meatpacking plant and then also to the right here and through that little industry yard. Much better to not use some of these corners. But yeah, we are nearly at the end of the first lap, so that's pretty good. We managed to survive, have place number 9, but there are people right behind me, there are people right in front of me, so this is still all very tightly packed. So let's now talk about my pit strategy. I have my Brutus parked over there. I don't plan on using it. My idea is to stretch out my 2-lap stint a little bit and make it over to the Jeju gas station. The reason for that is, of all the gas stations we drive through or drive past in this race, that one is the closest to the track and therefore it will cost me the least amount of time to do a refueling at. Raging made a live stream before going into the event and tested out quite a few car and engine combinations, and for this one that I'm driving here, he came up with this being able to do 2.1 laps and barely. So this is going to be a bit of a stretch trying to do more than 2 laps with this one, and we are going to see how that works out at the start of the next lap. We are still at about half tank, even though it looks like we are already a bit below that. But yeah, I'm right now just trying to figure out how much fuel I need to save and then we'll go from there. Right now I'm in 8th position with Domness in front of me, Ronhol behind me, and I mean you can see the rest going on in on the left side here. Nothing really going to be happening for a while, so let's just jump ahead. I hope this won't do too many loading issues. But yeah, we are just in place number 7. I might have gotten, I don't know who I overtook there, but it was likely not really too much happening. But yeah, from this point on, I'm slightly less aggressive, trying to save fuel and upshifting a bit earlier. Also, this is a nice little line that I can do here just to string the corners a bit together a bit better. But yeah, in areas like this one where I'm already going to drive slow to not kill myself, I'm going to just be a bit more gentle on the gas. Doesn't really feel like it right now, but I think I tried. The thing is, I had some long races before, at least one of them, and I was still able to remember all the important parts afterwards and just put them into a script with some rough timestamps. With this one, no chance. So I had to go back and I had to consider when I was starting to do fuel saving and all of that. It just wasn't really all that easy to keep in mind. But yeah, we are coming back up to that one sharp turn and it's going to be a bit different this time around if I remember correctly. We got some people up in front and they are not doing the best for the corner. I'm also having issues, but then Ronhul comes in and that thing had me cursing. Not at Ronhul, I think that was a pretty decent overtake, but some of the checkpoint placement here is really rough. So that didn't really go too well and lost me quite a few places. I now got Vormir right behind me. So yeah, that kinda sucked. First checkpoint miss. Yeah, there are going to be a few more. I don't think I'm missing the same one twice though, so yeah. Still in 8th position. Let's jump ahead a few seconds where I'm going to lose 8th position. I mean, this corner, yeah, this isn't one of my stronger ones. So, and there goes Vormir. I think I'm going to get back in 8 in a moment, so we might just let this run. I think it's just up ahead with the repair area. And you can already see my fuel is pretty low at this point. So I really shouldn't be pushing anymore, because that can end in disaster. I don't want to have to do roadside refueling. That is an option if you need to, but it's really not what you want to do. But here we have Chess repairing, and I'm just going to get very close to Chess, but I guess there was also another person there that I just ended up overtaking through the pit stop. They're coming back around to the end of the second lap. I don't think there's going to be anything else happening here. Third lap starts and near collision up in 7. That sounds interesting. So Chess apparently got off track. I think it was quite a bit further ahead, but yeah, maybe threw the car over on its side or something. But I managed to at least get past regardless. That could have been much worse of a collision. You can also see right now that my fuel tank is basically empty. So I'm really just mostly coasting now. I don't even want to brake if I can avoid it. I mean, I have to brake to not go into the drink right there, but yeah, I'm not accelerating. Another weird thing happening, I think Chaz missed the breakpoint ever so slightly. And I did the same thing as Domness over there and hit the inside of that turn. Didn't really work out too well for me. And I'm now trying to just make it over to a gas station, and I'll be using the one at the harbor. Going through here to just hopefully go right into it and out of fuel. That was a well-paced strategy. I wish I could have made it to the Jeju gas station right away, but this is better than nothing and at least allowed me to refuel completely. So yeah, that's at the start of the third lap, our first pit stop. And it worked out pretty well, all things considered. I lost a few positions, but hey, everybody else is also going to have to make a fuel stop at some point. The Enfos might be another lap or so before they have to do that, so yeah, I'm not winning on that front. But hey, in the end it was about getting a car that I like doing the track with for this long. And yeah, when I did the whole thing in the info just to try it out before the event, these parts were just really painful. Too much acceleration, and in the end I even got some brake fading because they were just overheating all the time. So this one feels a bit more natural for that. I was even considering to go with 180 horsepower V8. That felt a bit more smoother, but in the end, a bit more smooth in the end. But it also really lost out in some of the faster areas, so this was the one I went with. I also was considering stuff like maybe the Formula SCM. That's actually a beast. If it had the option to equip a turbocharger, which, I mean, of course I get why it doesn't do that. That car is supposed to only have things for making a setup and not any power increasing options. But if it had, if it did have a turbocharger, I think that might have been a real good contender. But still, you don't get a full-on headlamp or headlight set on it. And without high beams, the night is just way too dark. I would have to really crank up the moonlight brightness. So, decided against it. It just didn't work out for me. I think for other cars there was something else that I was trying, but it just didn't really come together. In the end, it was always going to be a Phantom. The question was just which one. But yeah, here we are, refueled, a bit behind everybody else, but also at least in front of some people with enough distance to not fear for losing another place. So I think at this point we might be going over to the next one, which is tailing 9th position. So we are once again behind Domness over here. Coming back out of Pyosan. Again going to the hopper, and we can see some carnage going on in front. Again, this is why we should have really removed it before the event. We can also see the first attempt of it throwing rocks at us. But yeah, here I'm just staying behind the guy in front of me. I gotta say, overall, the track is really lacking a bit of overtaking opportunity. It's very difficult. I mean, these roads are wide, but we also have flower banks on the side, and it's all with these slight turns that mean that you can't really just go onto another lane and overtake. It's very difficult. And most of the track really plays out like that, at least in my opinion. So I always found it very difficult to get the overtake. And for the most part, I'm just trying to execute my stint strategy and not run into any problems. So while I usually like a decent battle and fighting for a position, right now I'm just really trailing without much of applied pressure. Coming back around over here. I mean, I managed to at least keep up, so that's alright. But yeah, he pulls away just on the straight, and let's see how I'm going to handle this corner this time around. I think that's a bit better, but I'm also just going very wide, and that could have gone much worse. That was still okay, but preferably I would like to avoid it. Doesn't always work though. I'm not that consistent of a driver, especially not recently. But yeah, we got 9th and 8th position right in front of us, so stuff can happen here. Also, somebody went for a refuel, so that's another way to get positions back. And I think I might be in 8th or 7th now. Oh no, I'm in 8th position, so yeah. Went from 10th to 8th, so that's a pretty good win here. Love this little back and forth here and there. And yeah, with a track like this and the race going as it is, it's sometimes better to just get some positions through other people doing pit stops. Because yeah, going for the overtakes is just very dangerous. And with some of these corners, I'm really driving at the edge of what I can do right here. So it doesn't allow me to take a different line through it. I would just either have to slow down or suffer the consequences. But yeah, we are in the 4th lap, so let's see what happens. That brings us back down into 10th position. So we got 2 people right behind us. That's Chessbot and Zeki. I feel like I should always just downshift into 1st gear there. That would be much easier to take the corner with. I don't think I ever do that, but every time I watch me go through that corner afterwards, I thought that I just did a massive mistake there. But yeah, those 2 managed to sneak by, and they are just running away from me now. So I'm down in 10th, and I will be for quite a while. So I'm now down to 10th still, and I'm missing a checkpoint. So yeah, that didn't cost me anything, but it was worth mentioning. Also, I think at this point I would like to bring up that while I have a lot of highlights set on the stuff that I mess up, remember that this is um, an over 1 hour 40-minute race, and there are going to be a lot of things that I'm not going to show you, and those are mostly the ones where I'm just driving like nothing's up and nothing's happening and it's all going well. So in the end, while you're going to see a lot of fails from my end, it's or from other people sometimes. Forgot about that one. In the end, it did go rather well. A little bit of desync with, I think, somebody's passenger right there. But yeah, once again, nothing really too happening. We are still in 10th, but we might get another position sooner than later. So Domness, for some reason, it's just parked on the side there. I have no idea why. I think there may have been a bit of a collision happening. But anybody else is already way further ahead. I just basically got a free position. It might have gone off track and tried to rejoin and left me some space to not cause a collision. Now we go into the 5th lap, so we are getting close to the halfway point. End of lap number 6 will be that. But this also means that we are about to do the second pit stop here. And I think I'm going to get a position here sooner or later. We can see luggage going off to the left there. I think I mentioned that already. Basically, you can choose your path right here, doesn't matter too much. I'm just gonna stick to the inside. And I don't know what exactly happened that I got another position. I think Chess might have been way ahead and then reset to the repair station there. But yeah, I'll take it. And yeah, coming back around here, we have a bit more fuel this time around, so I don't need to go back into this gas station. I can try and make it over to Jeju, which is really where I want to be, and that's going to be the way how I want to execute my entire plan here. And I got a few places back by means of our people just doing their pit stop and repairing their cars. But yeah, now it's my turn, and I might also go for a repair here, not entirely sure. Yeah, coming around, going into the repair garage and just repairing the body damage. It's gonna slow me down gradually over the course of all these laps, so doing a quick refresh every now and again isn't the worst idea. And it also starts raining now, which isn't great for me. Again, all-wheel drive wins in the rain. I'm gonna have to try and survive. But yeah, I was in 7th for a moment, now I'm back down in 9th. Let's see how it goes when I lose control and 9th position. I think I remember this one. And I don't even know what really happened here. Bit of oversteering, drifting, and yeah, it just started getting worse. I tried catching it, it didn't work, and that's how you fall back into 10th. Now we get to a short-lived battle for 9th position. So once again against Domness, and that's how we can also finally see those stupid barriers in the way. Just being flung onto the track. And yeah, once again I could potentially try to overtake, but it just doesn't really work. Kinda didn't leave me too much of a choice by them starting to overheat, but I caught them unfortunately and just spun out. There's also somebody parked over there for some reason, but that's a back marker, so this is really just me lapping them. 19th position. And there seems to be a bit of back and forth here. We are going to catch back up into 9th position. And this is something that kind of annoys me, because what they did there was just let the car roll, go into the roadside recovery, and then teleport into the repair station. So I kind of hit them because they slowed down unexpectedly and nothing really I could do about it. But yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes. Okay, here we go, going back into the harbor. I don't know what I caught on, but it caught me well and didn't let me go until I spun out. And now on to some more lapping action. We have cat slap in a very slow driving Sidewalk. And Atomic Dog, I think. Just try to read the name while there's everything else going on there. So quick lapping action. Nothing too crazy, and we are back going towards the main straight. Or the back straight more likely. And now on to really missing the braking point, which is something that I always like seeing, and oh god, it's this turn. And I'm almost going over to the lighthouse there. Yeah, that wasn't great. Nothing really happened though, it's not like I lost a place or anything. But yeah, if I was trying to catch up with luggage at this point maybe, or trying to get away from the people behind me, that didn't exactly help. Okay, I don't really need to get into the 7th lap too much here. But yeah, we went through the start-finish line once again. So let's jump right over to the 3rd pit stop. Coming around the bend, not doing a repair again. We have about half body damage and nothing else, so nothing too crazy. I don't think I caught anything but body damage here, so that's pretty good. But we also got overtaken by Trio, who also went into the bushes. So this might be a bit of a battle. This might also be not much at all, just looking at how they are running away from me. And now onto a tutorial on how to lose a position, I guess. Okay, going off to the side here. The all-wheel drive cars are really good at that. I'm evidently not. I also got slightly stuck there. Didn't want to try and run up the side of a ditch there. It just... the car doesn't have that much grip. It could have worked, but it would have likely taken longer than to just reset. And yeah, I think that's another person doing a cheeky teleport there. I mean, for this one, it's not even all that bad because, yeah, that's quite far away from the track. But with some of the other stuff, it feels a bit cheaty. But in the end, it's not like there's a rule against it, so it's not like they are breaking any rules. It's just something that I decide not to do, and they optimize in that way. Also helps out because you usually get placed in the direction of how you want to leave the tuning shop. So that works out pretty well. I'm going for this line now because I messed up the braking point. And yeah, I got the position back, so that's alright. And that's just how I got the position here, I think. So 8th lap and the Apex Strikes Back. I don't like that title. I don't like what's happening there, but yeah. Not the first time something happened in the corner. The other one was when I spun out, so can be a tricky one if you don't do it right. And yeah, nice little drift. Sometimes that's a fun thing to do. We are also at around the halfway mark for my fuel tank, so that's pretty good. 8th lap and still going somewhat strong. I mean, 9th position, it's pretty good. So back to lapping somebody. And I think that's the person that we saw at the side of the track earlier. Going with the Muhan and the V12. I don't know the Muhan's fuel tank size, but I think it should be decent. I give them a signal that I would like to overtake, and yeah, they just give me all the space in the world, so that's pretty nice for them. And here we are going back into Pyosan. I'm also going by the title of a chapter here to determine how long I should run the thing. Okay, I don't know what happened there, I just spun a little bit, and instead of doing a drift, it caught grip again and then just ran me off the track. And there's also somebody behind me that's Omni Hill. So yeah, they are in an N4 GT with the V12. Once again, strongest car, strongest engine, and with that fuel tank size, apparently that was a good idea. And Omni Hill is a very fast driver to begin with, so yeah, that checks out. I also gotta say, with how the checkpoints are placed here, all behind their apex, it really tempts you to drive the corners a bit differently. Like, I'm not really driving the corner right, I'm just trying to go to the checkpoint as quickly as possible. Okay, 9th lap. I don't think there's anything happening there. There is something that's going to happen with end of the lap there. Also while taking Cat's lap there. So let's get to the 4th pit stop. Now in 9th lap over here. Once again eyeing the repair station. And quick refuel. 9th position. Trio might be close enough to me to catch up, but I mean still a percent behind, so I don't know at which point of the lap the percentages update. But yeah, 1% is actually potentially quite far here. And they are just at the gas station there, so that's alright. Not the most space, but at least a decent bit. Nothing happening for the next while, so... Oh yeah. That really had to happen at least once. That set of corners is tricky. If you don't get the right line, you are going to go off the track, and sometimes it's better to just brake, but at that point I just completely lost it and didn't react fast enough to save it. So Treo is now in front of me. I should be in place number 10, and yeah, sucks missing that checkpoint, but at least in some cosmic justice I got a place back through that this time around. I've been considering to maybe make an updated version of this track. Just I have a lot of checkpoints that would work for that from my existing tracks, and while I would still have to put in quite a bit of time to update everything, I would then be more inclined to also use this track for some of my events. But right now, if I were to make a track, it would definitely be an original one. I got a few ideas, but just not really the incentive to go for them right now. Anyway, we are back up in 9th and follow our base in the rain. That sounds like something that's going to happen soon, so let's just see how this one plays out. Because I know it's just gonna have to be this corner. I'm even drifting to try and avoid the issues, but here in the rain I'm just really trying to make it through the parts. And okay, this one. Yep, that's flower beans in the rain, alright. That will get ya. I can't even get off them without a problem. So I'm back in 10th position here, but... oh god, this one. I think I mentioned that I'm always driving this car very close to the limit, and this is what it can look like sometimes. I evidently also managed to get past Trio again, likely with another little thing happening there, like pit stop on his end. But yeah, the thing is, originally the starting line was right next to the tow truck area, and that checkpoint should have really been expanded a little bit to not miss it like that. But yeah, I'm now back in 10th position, but I got a feeling I might get into 9th sooner than later. In another minute or so, so let's just jump ahead. So Trio apparently just didn't get the corner right. And I was able to capitalize on that. I still have another lap before I need to do another... is this... oh no, this is the 10th lap. Okay, so... yeah, I'm not doing any pit stops on the even laps. I'm just going for the uneven ones. So start of the 11th lap will be the last time I go into the pit lane. Or more like 4 pits. There is no real pit lane here. You know what I mean. But yeah, I'm back in 9th and it's going to last for a while. And weirdly enough, the other time I got lapped, it was also in this area, and I made the error of just jumping to the side way too much and also kind of losing my cool for that. But this time around I just stuck to my line for a bit longer and made space a bit later on when the person second, which is raging, got at least a bit closer. But at this point I'm also kind of curious how much I can maybe keep up with raging. It's always a bit tempting when you get overlapped by somebody to see the pace difference, but I mean at this point I'm also kind of cruising, trying to hang in where we are way past the 1 hour mark. We are almost approaching 1 hour 30. Oh, Jesus Christ, what the hell did I do there? Yeah, we are coming back around to the 11th lap. And we can jump right ahead to the last pit stop. There we go. Last time repairing as well, because why not? I mean, at this point the positions are somewhat safe. I mean, we are in the same percentage as the person behind us, so that might be a bit risky here, but I felt at the time it was worth it. And yeah, there is Trio coming up. And once again doing the teleportation thing. I don't know if it was Trio or somebody else, but I noticed somebody around this time just going to about every single repair station they could find along the track. But yeah, fatigue is definitely setting in here. But hey, I'm now on technically my shortest stint. The first stint was the longest, going from the start 2 laps and then over to Jeju Harbor. Then the second longest was the one after, doing another 2 laps and then going to Jeju town. But now this is going to be the shortest one because I'm only now need to make it back to the start finish line for slightly less than 2 laps. I'm very much aware of it at that point, but I don't think I'm going to capitalize on that. I think this thinking might be more detrimental to my pace because I might just be making mistakes trying to push the car now. But yeah, nothing really too much happening. We get to the final lap and then we are going to miss another checkpoint. I know this one. And I don't know how that happened. I just went slightly off to the right and yeah, it was a bit too far. Really, that checkpoint should be on the apex of this turn anyways. I don't know what it does over there. But yeah, I was in front of Treo at that point and he got a bit closer. This is going to be a bit tight towards the end. Once again, not really taking the corner right, but just going for the checkpoint. I mean, there are quite a few nice little shortcuts like this one here. So I'm just trying to put the power down, trying to get away from Treo again because they are way too close for comfort. Meanwhile, the first few people are already finishing. But they're going too aggressively is only going to be worse for myself. Being a bit light on the car tends to help not spin out all that much. But yeah, everybody in front of me is very close to the finish now, so I'm still about half a lap down. Can't really do much about that though, I can only try and save my position. And we have 2 people behind me on the same percentage, so I gotta try and keep a position. We can check when Trio's percentage is updating, that's now, so they just went through the last checkpoint. It's tough. Okay, and this is where I finally make this mistake. Was just waiting for it. Trying to reset without being in Trio's way, but yeah, I'm also not going to lose more time than necessary here. But hey, I lost the position. I'm back down in 10th. So that's not all that amazing. Yeah, going for that line as well, and it's gonna be a little catch-up attempt over here. But yeah, once again in this area it's just about trying to get through and not mess up. Got a bit irritated by somebody using my tanker at that point. I wish I hadn't placed it down. Because that got me going like, what the hell is happening there? And Treo did something which I saw other people do a while ago. It's just going over that curb too quickly is way too tempting, and it can do this for you. Trying to not repeat past mistakes here. That stone wall came a bit too close for comfort. But we are almost done. Got a few more percent to go. It's like 1/3 of the lap left over. But I will still have to make it through there. I don't think there's too much happening from this point on. But we can just let it play out at this point. Looking at the length of this video right now, it seems like I'm about to save half of the length compared to the original, so skipping ahead did something after all. But yeah, this might be my longest commentary on these kind of races. Imagine how it was driving the entire thing. Honestly, it was kind of relaxing in the end. Or at least to some degree. There was definitely a point where I got into the flow in the middle of the whole thing. But yeah, it's hard to keep consistency over such a long race, especially with how difficult the entire track is. Like, these roads are busy with all the little turns and everything. But it still worked out. Going back around to the industrial district for the last time, once again one of those more twisty parts. And for some reason Treo just vanished from my map there. I don't know what happened. Ah, there he is again. And one thing I really wish for this track was that we didn't go through this part. It always feels so tempting to just really push down on the gas and let it rip towards leaving the area. I get why these slower parts are there. It really helps balancing different car choices. But in terms of flow, the track would be better without some of these. And it tells me to find the gas station again. I'm not gonna do that. The sad part is, since this is happening during the CT phase again, I'm doing this all on a backup, and I had to abandon this save file. So whatever money I made through this, for whatever amount of levels I got, and honestly, after this kind of race, I would have really liked to keep the mileage on the car, keep the racing levels that I made, but it didn't really work out. I would have lost something on the other backup if I didn't restore that. So, yeah. Anyway, enough about this one. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time with something else. There's still a card event that I need to make a commentary for, but this one was fun. It was also quite a lot, so yeah. Glad that I got finally got around to make the commentary for it. Interesting race, bit mixed on the track, but it worked out in the end, and it was a pretty good experience. So thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed, and see you guys next time. Until then, as always, have a good one, and bye bye.